Hey everyone, Terrace here. Okay, so I'm super excited. I got a really good friend of mine, Ellie Merwin here with Skyline Properties. I've known Ellie. How long have I known you? It's been a little bit.
Has it been a year?
I think it's been a year. I think it's been a little over a year. Because when we first got connected, I came to your branch. I got connected to you through another realtor. Yeah. Right? And then afterwards, I'm like, hey, let me teach a class at your branch. Let me see what I can do to help your realtors make more money.
Yes.
Right? And then we got connected. And the next thing you know, we ended up doing some business together.
Yep.
And then I quickly realized how sharp you were in the business, specifically when it came to contracts, connecting with clients, but more so, I want to say, just overall real estate experience, right? So you've been a managing broker, and then, so tell me a little bit about your story, right? How did you first become a managing broker at Skyline, and then where are you now, right?
So I've been in real estate for about 7 years.
Okay.
It started off because I wanted to buy my own investment property.
Cool.
And my husband said, why don't you just get your license and do it all yourself? And so that my first property was for myself. Cool. And I still own that rental.
Where is that rental?
In Auburn.
Okay.
Yeah. So 2017.
Okay.
Is when I got it.
Great price point to buy in.
I know.
I wish we had those prices today.
Yeah. Every time I buy, I'm like, oh, I wish I bought more at that time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So then I was in real estate for 3 to 4 years, and then I got my managing broker license because I became an assistant branch manager at the Bellevue office.
Okay.
And I did that for about 3 years.
Okay.
And I recently quit because I just wanted to focus all of my attention on my own business.
Okay.
But I still am licensed with Skyline, and I work with all those amazing managers and staff.
So when you were, you say assistant, right? When you're like, oh, I was an assistant branch manager. I say you were a branch manager because whenever I came into the office, you were the one actually doing the work, right? You were the one actually dealing with the realtors, connecting. So how many realtors are at that branch?
There's about 500.
So you managed 500.
Yeah.
I know it was you and a couple of people.
So the reason why I say assistant is because you can only technically have one branch manager. Okay. But there were two of us, and I was working with Suzanne at the time.
That's right. Yep.
And so between the three of us, Skyline has about 1,200 brokers. So I would be taking calls from brokers from, the Puyallup office or the Northgate office.
Wow.
It's all under, we're not franchised.
Yeah.
So any broker who was Skyline, I would help.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of calls.
That was a lot of calls. I was really busy.
Let me ask you this. When you got a call from a broker, or let's say a text message at 8:30 p.m. at night, or at 9 o'clock, I'm sure you got calls at like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
With like fire emojis, and like, what was that like? Like how did you set boundaries with these brokers when it came to your time? Because your time is super valuable. You've been running your own business as well. You have your own clients, your own deals to deal with. Yeah. And you have a family.
Yeah.
Right? You're a mom. You have kids. You have a husband. Like, how did you set that line? Because I know realtors all get calls at 8, 9 o'clock, and I'm happy to help, right? Yeah. But that being said, how would you handle that? Like how did you get that set up?
Well, in the beginning, it was chaos because I would try to answer every phone call.
Wow.
And
so how long did that last?
That lasted for about a year.
No way. Wow.
And but I would. The worst was the weekends. Okay. Because at nighttime it's actually okay because the kids are asleep and I do more work at night. But I would just if I'd get the urgent text. Yeah. How do you write an offer? And then I would ask them, when is it? Because, last year or the year before, it was a frenzy market and there was review dates. We don't have that as much anymore. Yeah. And I'd ask when the review date is. And if it was a week away, I'd say, I'll see you in the office tomorrow morning. Okay. Yeah. And then we can do it together then. But if it was, I have helped at, 9 or 10 p.m., occasionally helping with an offer together. Yeah.
Okay. So the realtors were still somewhat respectful of your time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very nice. Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad. I know some people that I worked with are just majority of the realtors in general that do, 90% of the business, 10% of the realtors do. Those guys, they know what they're doing. They're respectful. They're nice. But the other you know, I want to say 90%, because I do have people today that I help that sometimes they're just like reaching out at very unique hours.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or on unique dates and unique times,
everything
which is fine. Everything is urgent.
Everything is urgent when you're newer.
Yeah.
And I get it. I was there. It's very stressful. But.
Like, I'm just thinking what I probably would have thought about doing was I'd probably make like a video, right? Of like, hey, this is how you put a contract together, and just have like a like Mr. and Mrs. Smith contract.
Yeah.
I would just do a video, and I'd create a whole series. And then if they'd be like, hey, how do you do this? I'd message them, did you look at the series on YouTube?
Yeah.
My how-to series of 39 videos. Go through them and then reach back out.
Right. We did try to do that. I mean, we did do videos.
And did it work? No.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to get them to watch the videos first, because it's like, well, my case is special. Yeah. And I want you to look at it specifically. Okay. So, yeah. Okay.
Well, now you're out of that. Yeah. Now you focus 100% on your business, which is great. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So talk to me about that transition, right? Now you're 100%, because again, you've been doing your business for almost over half a decade, right? So 7 years. Now you're doing it full time again, managing, but you're doing less management, but you've seen so many more contracts. Right. So I'm sure that your experience level, because you go from just managing your own contracts to managing, you know, your office alone has 500 plus agents. Right. Seeing, you know, a crap ton of contracts from that standpoint. Yeah. I'm sure that just the amount of growth that you've had just off of a knowledge standpoint has just blew up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just my experience, because my job was putting out fires.
Wow.
And so I take that knowledge, and now every time I'm with my client, I'm thinking from a liability standpoint. Okay. And I want them to be, you know, completely informed. Yeah. And so that before we go under contract, we know what we're doing, we know what we're getting into, and I explain everything much more carefully, so that there's no surprises. Because that's when I came in the picture, was after everyone went under contract, and then it's like, okay, how do we get out of this?
Yeah. Perfect. So let me ask you this. Let's say now, right, you sit down with a brand new buyer, first-time home buyer, has never saw a contract before, knows, you know, only what he knows on real estate when it comes to what he saw on YouTube or Google. Yeah, right? Yeah. When you sit down and you walk through a contract, what are the most important things that you want them to know, right? When it comes to a purchase and sale contract, right? Whether it's, hey, you know, I know everything's important, right, in a contract, but these are the most important things that you want them to focus on before they get under contract. Is that contingencies? Is that earnest money? Like, what does that look like? Like, what do you want them to know from a standpoint of, hey, look, like, this is something that's going to be major, and I know you're going to want to like be meticulous when it comes to explaining that to them, so that when it's time to write the offer, you're not going through, you know, phase one when it's like, hey, look, we're on a time crunch here. There's 3 offers. We got to put this in. Yeah. What does that look like?
So first thing is I recommend an inspection contingency. And a financial contingency. And I go through these contingencies pretty in depth so that they understand the timeline and like how to protect the earnest money. Okay. Before I go under contract, though, my biggest thing is to know everything about the house, so that we're not, you know, and to make sure my buyer is 100%, you know, ready to make the jump. Because when they're feeling uncomfortable, like, I'll go back to the home 3 or 4 times for you to feel totally, you know, immersed in the home and feel comfortable about this huge decision. I also go up county records because one of the most common mistakes I see is the square footage is wrong. Okay. If it's a duplex, I want to make sure it's a legal duplex, because that's one of the most common reasons I saw people falling out of contracts. Or that single family that looks like a single family but really is a detached condo. So I look at these most common misrepresentations and make sure, okay, are all the boxes check. And then once we go through that, if it's a condo, I will get the resale certificate beforehand and try to go over the CCNRs, and I'll ask them, okay, what are you looking for Like, if it's an investment, make sure that there's no rental cap, make sure that you can, rent right away.
Yeah.
Or, if they're doing a home business, all kind of HOA things I want to make sure we get out of the way.
Yeah.
And then because the inspection with the home, that's, we leave up to the inspector. They'll be the expert on that.
Yeah.
But in terms of just all those little details,
yeah.
I want to get that done before going under contract.
That's good. I've done a lot of interviews, and you're the first person that said I do like in-depth detail of the actual deal. Most people talk about the contract. Most people talk about, hey, we want to make sure that financing looks good, that they can afford this place. Not a lot of actually people talk about the deal, because you're right, on condos, it's huge. You need to make sure the resale cert is good. You also need to make sure the reserve study is there, right? So it's financeable.
Yeah.
If your client's getting FHA approved, the condo has to be able to, be FHA approvable, right? So it's a lot of factors on condos, which is huge, and other homes. So let's say in general, everything looks good, but when you initially walk through a house, let's just say suburban area, regular home, what are a few key details that you look at, right? Because I know the inspection is going to go through some stuff, but when I say key details, I say things that that you may touch on when it comes to negotiation. Like, is it the furnace? Is it the roof? I know it could be one of everything, but if a home is built anywhere, let's say between 1980 and 2005, right? What are a few common things that you notice? Not that just get outdated, but also that you're like, hey, look, we can maybe negotiate here. Or, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this is something that you should be aware of, right?
Yeah. So when I'm walking through a house, I walk the outside and the inside. I like to see if there's big trees by the house.
Okay.
Because of the roots getting in the foundation or the sewer line.
Smart.
So if I see, especially being the Northwest, there's a lot of trees here.
Yep.
And so if there's a big tree really close to the house, you also get rodents up on the roof. So I try to steer away from that. I want to make sure there's distance between the house and the tree. I also look at the foundation if there's any huge cracks.
Okay.
So we'll walk in the basement. And I know the rule of thumb is if you can stick your pinky in there, walk away.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
What else do I look at? I look at the roof. Okay. That's a big expense. In terms of negotiating, I think about, how long has this home been sitting on the market?
Okay.
How much have they dropped the price?
Okay.
And then you kind of just get a feel when you talk to the listing broker, what the situation is with the seller.
Okay.
I always look at the resale value. Okay. So when I walk into a home, I'm thinking, if this is not, I don't want it just easy to buy, but also easy to sell.
Yeah.
So
exit strategy.
Yeah.
I love that.
So so if I see a home that I feel like, you're going to have a hard time selling when it's time to sell, I'll explain why.
Yeah. And I personally love that, because when I look at deals for myself, I do the same thing, right? I'll look through it. I know inspection is going to be done, make sure everything is, decent. But I look at appreciation value.
Yes.
Resale appreciation. So it's like, hey,
or rental value.
Yeah, rental value.
If I feel like, hey, this is a good area, you're going to get good rental income for this. So I feel like you have different exit strategies when you need to make the next move.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because I know a lot of people like new construction. A lot of people don't, right? I personally love older homes. I mean, we're talking older homes that have never been touched, that have never been remodeled, anywhere between the years of 1977 to 1985. I mean, that for me is just opportunity.
Character,
Because I feel like the bones of that home are good enough to where I know it's going to last another 100, 200 years. But that being said, with the bones being as strong as they are for a home like that and nothing's been touched, there's so much opportunity when it comes to appreciation, right? Because it's an old kitchen. It's an outdated kitchen. Appliances are old. The floors are old. It's even doing a couple of those remodels, I feel like could boost the value of a home, right? You don't need to, let's say, replace the entire roof, if it's, let's say, 15 years, or replace the furnace and HVAC system, or even touch the bathrooms. But if you put in new floors in the new kitchen, let's say that's out of pocket $50K, that house could skyrocket in value just because of the kitchen and the floors alone. Right? And do a little paint job, a little trim, and you're good to go. Right? So what kind of, like, that's me, right? Because I think of everything from an investor standpoint when it comes to real estate. How about you? Like, what are your because I know, again, some people are super particular. They want new construction, or they want a home like this, and this. What are your thoughts?
No, absolutely. I think a little rehab or cosmetics, I'm always looking at that. When I walk through a home, I just think, okay, the things that I can change, if it's easy and you can get the money out of it, then, I love that. But the things that you can't, like the floor plan, or if you have to do anything structural and it's an awkward home, then I'd say, I think this is going to be a difficult resale. So, I definitely compare those two. In terms of the cosmetics, I just, I always ask them, I say, is this something that you're okay with or interested in doing? Because some of them just say, no, I want it brand new. I don't want to touch anything. Something else that I think that I look at is I really like homes with more than one bathroom. Because those are hard to, I look at homes that are, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, or 3-bedroom, 1 bath. It's hard to add a new bathroom. So I just say, let's find one that has the number of beds and bath, and then everything else, like the carpet and the paint and all of that, that's easy to change. And it's not costly.
Smart. And just like in general, I'll tell you, having more than one bathroom is huge. I have little kids. Right? And this was I think 2 months ago. He's 3 now. He was younger, but he was 2. He took a toy, threw it down, and just started clicking the button and totally jammed up the guest bathroom. And it's like, imagine the kiddo did that,
and you only have one bathroom. I say, look,
that would be huge.
To have your guests and you, like, everyone share one bathroom, that's hard. And so I always try to find a home that has at least 1.5, because you want that privacy.
100%.
So that's 100%. A big one that I look at. Also, the kitchen. The kitchen is huge. So if I feel, it's okay, especially with the older homes, that the kitchen is in the older homes, the kitchen was in their own private room, and now it's more open concept. So I'll look and see, can we open up a wall to make this, more appealing?
For me, when I look at kitchens, I always think, is there a place for me to add an island?
Yes.
That's my number one thing when I go through these deals. I'll say, hey, okay, this kitchen is fine. Like, everything you can rehab, remodel. You can move a little bit of electrical. You can move a little bit of plumbing. That's all simple to do, right? Especially once you start opening things up. It's a tube here, a wire here. It's simple, right? But do I have the space to make it comfortable to add an island? Because an island is going to give you what? It's going to give you a ton of storage, and it's going to give you openness.
And eating space.
And a space to host. That for me is a really, really big deal. So I'll always look at, can I add an island? Great. I love that. Okay, so let's talk about this, because not many people know, I guess, on my channel and with my audience, where you work. So where's your market? Like, where do you primarily work?
I work in the King County, Pierce. I would say those are my 2 main markets.
North Pierce and all King County.
Yeah, all of King County. So from Everett, like Stevens, that area down out to Tacoma, Puyallup area. It's kind of where my focus is.
Cool. So I want to say where I do majority of my deals, right? So I do deals across all 50 states, but it's Washington State primarily, and then primarily King, Pierce, Snohomish County. Of course, I touch on Kitsap County and all those other counties. I've done a little, There's always 1 or 2 deals a year.
There's a few that,
But this is primarily where I work too. So when it comes to the market, right, when it comes to evaluations of homes, talk to me a little bit about numbers, because I know that right now prices of homes are definitely stale. Right? We're not seeing crazy growth. I personally think we saw, if you look at history of real estate, right? Real estate goes up, they say every 10 years, we have, the house value doubles. I think we already saw that in 2020 and 2021 with monetative easing, right? Because of, COVID, rates going down and all that jazz. I think we saw that growth, and I think the values of homes are going to be pretty steady. I don't think we're going to see that kind of growth in the next, I want to say 7-8 years. Well, just because we already got there, right? In such a short time frame.
Yeah. Well, right now, I mean, across the board, there's a lack of inventory.
Yeah.
Because most sellers, you know, we actually, same with us, we refinanced during the COVID. We got a really great rate.
We all did, yeah.
We want a bigger house, but we don't want to leave that interest rate.
Yep.
So that's what sellers are grappling with right now.
Yeah.
So there's been, you know, a 20% decrease in sales since last year.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's across, you know, in my King County, pure Snohomish.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 20%. So I'll tell you this, we've had I think 40 or 50% decrease in mortgage applications.
Oh, wow.
Year over year.
Yeah.
So a lot less applications.
I read in the article, as soon as it drops 1%, we're going to get like 5 million buyers reapplying, you know, so
flooding the market.
They're flooding the market. So So
supply and demand is a big issue here too, right? So because King County is great. I mean, we have jobs here. We have the Puget Sound here. I mean, we have all the big tech companies, right? Amazon, Google, Boeing, Facebook, Microsoft's here. Large companies, right? Big companies. So PACCAR, right? So in general, we have the jobs here, and it's always better to pay yourself than it is to pay an investor. When you're buying, you know, that's why homeownership is huge. But at the same time, the cost of rents have been going up. I was talking to this one buyer, and they took an application, and their son is helping them purchase a home. He's a good friend of mine. I helped him with, I think, 2 deals already. And he goes, Terrace, in Linwood, and this is his parents, they're paying, what was it? I think close to $2,600, $2,700 for a 1-bed, 1-bath. For rent.
Wow.
Right. So it's expensive.
Yeah.
And the structure's a little newer.
Yeah.
But it's expensive.
Yeah, that is.
I mean,
really
we're not talking like 12 or 1,500 square feet. It's not a house. It's a 1-bed, 1-bath.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, brother, of course it doesn't make sense for them to live. I don't care if rates are at 8-9%.
Right.
Pay yourself. That interest rate is tax deductible, so you'll save money there. But on a macro scale, pay yourself, right? And that's, I think, a big factor too why a lot of people like us, we also refinanced during when rates went down, and we're thinking, why would I ever sell when my interest rate is just incredibly low, right?
Yeah.
And on a big picture scale, it's like with such a low rate, our payments right now, if I were to go into rent, I'd be paying 70% more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just by renting versus home ownership, right? So it's more expensive now to rent than it is to own, especially when you have that lower rate, right? So that all being said, what are your thoughts on the rental market? What are your thoughts on supply and demand? Do you think we're going to have more supply come up in the next couple of months or the next, let's say, year over year? Do you think supply is going to continuously go down? What are your thoughts on
houses?
In terms of housing and all that.
I think it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be pretty kind of where we're at right now.
Okay.
Maybe when I've heard, I mean, you might know more, but dip a little bit.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of see. I know in spring, this is kind of the dormant period.
Yep.
So this is a natural cycle. We're going to see less homes, less buyers.
Yep.
But, come spring, I think we'll get more housing on the market.
More housing?
Yeah,
Okay.
but then there's more competition.
Yep.
And then who knows where the rates will be. If it's lower, we're going to get a lot more buyers. I have a lot of sellers who are just kind of hovering to see when is a good time. They're not desperate. Like, it's not I must sell my house. It's kind of like if it works and the market is right, then I will sell.
Yeah.
And they will sell whenever that is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That makes sense. And I know personally, I want to say more than a handful of people that literally are waiting to sell just because they want rates to come down so that their affordability for another home is going to be better.
Exactly.
It's going to be better.
Yep.
So there's a lot of people waiting for rates to come down. There's a lot of people are waiting for just, a little bit more, a little bit less volatility.
Yeah. If you want to feel yep, exactly.
Yeah, big deal. Investments. You work with investors as well. I know that for a fact because you reached out to me when we were talking about investment deals too, right?
Yes.
And I've talked to you a lot about investments. I'll tell you this, which is probably going to excite you. Have you heard of the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac new update rule that's coming out? 5% down on triplex and fourplex conventional.
Oh, I just read that this morning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that got me super excited.
First-time
home buyers.
The caveat, first-time home buyers and low income, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
that's what I saw. I don't know.
When it comes to low income, it depends on the city, right? Because there's a map, right? Okay. So that's going to vary. And yes, first-time home buyers, but I'm sure that there will be gray lines.
Yeah, because I mean, low income buying an investment, I'm thinking, how low is low?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it's going to have to do with ratios. A lot of it's going to have to do with just making sure they have decent credit. I'm sure if they have, a ton of reserves and they can put the money down and they're making, $500,000 more a year and they have a big business, then it's not going to be applicable. But for the average homeowner here, let's say to family household income, combined income maybe being 100, 200K a year, I think 100% it's going to be a possibility.
That would be okay. Yeah, I love that.
Even move up.
Yeah.
Right? If somebody's like, hey, because this is new, right? So I'm sure if somebody buys a deal like this and then 3 years later goes, hey, I want to buy another fourplex. I don't want to live in this fourplex anymore.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can go 5% down again.
Yeah. That's awesome.
As an owner occupied.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So conventional financing. So that gets me excited.
Yeah, that got me excited because I was like, oh, I want to take advantage.
Yeah. So from an investment standpoint, you look at a lot of investment deals, and I have my opinion, right? Because I know personally, when you look at investment deals, you either need to look at, there's two things, appreciation, cash flow. That's it, right?
Exactly.
Appreciation, cash flow. What do you focus on from an investment standpoint, and where do you think is the best areas in today's market to buy?
So there's a couple things I advise my investors. One is any home that has an HOA or condos, I put an X. We don't want that.
Yes.
So I do have a home that is an HOA. It's in a community. It's only $50, $60, but it's annoying. And especially if you get into a condo where you get to 300 to 400, 500, 600, Bellevue, Kirkland, I know it's a good hot area, but it's gonna always go up and it's not gonna catch up with your rents. So I cross those off. I actually do a lot of purchasing for investments in the Pierce area. So I think you can get big houses on small lots because tenants, you have to think about what tenants can manage to do. And it's, I put in the contract that they're going to do the yard maintenance. So I would say, Kent, Tacoma, Renton, although Renton is getting a little pricier.
It's getting pricey.
It's getting pricey. Yeah. Auburn. So all of these areas, 600,000, you can get anywhere from 28 to 3,400. Yeah. Which we want to definitely make sure it covers their mortgage and a little bit more because of the, if anything, any damage or things you have to replace. So you want to do a little bit more, like 10 or 15% more. That's good cash flow and that's good appreciation to single family homes. Okay,
but that's a big down payment.
A big down payment?
Yeah.
Oh, the 25% for, yes, that is.
Yeah, so if you were to help, let's say, somebody that wants to buy an investment property, but first move into that deal and live in there for a year, 2 years, and then go find their dream home, and you're looking, let's say they don't care whether it's multifamily or single family, they just want to make sure that they're going to cash flow and they have the appreciation. Let's say they have 5% down. I know that's tough.
I would do the I love multifamilies and I've actually started looking in that market. So with my thinking about multifamilies is you're going to get more cash flow because you're getting multiple families, multiple incomes, but the appreciation isn't as high.
Correct.
Because when you sell, your market are other investors. So, but for me, I'm going to keep these properties for a long time. I don't anticipate selling them, in less than 5 or 10 years. So I would rather have that cash flow.
Smart.
But I'll still make it will still sell for more. It's just, not at the rate as single family.
Yeah. And of course, they're paying off your mortgage.
Yeah.
So you're building equity and you got the appreciation. Yeah. And you have the cash flow.
Yeah.
Big deal.
No, every property I've bought I've never regretted. It's been a good investment. It's always stressful, when you first buy it and you're taking all this money out. Things are tight and you're like, oh, why did I do that? adding this stress. But then 6 months later, I always go through this cycle like, oh, I wish I bought 2 more.
Yeah. Do you manage it yourself, or do you usually have a property management company?
I manage them myself.
Smart.
I don't think you need to get a property manager I think I go to my properties once or twice a year. It doesn't take a lot of time.
Okay.
And most important is having really good relationships with your tenants.
Yes.
So I always, if they have a problem, I always respond back. I get pictures. I had one who just had a baby.
Oh, nice.
And he sent me the announcement, and I gave him, some baby presents.
Oh,
and
really
so
cool.
just having a good relationship.
Yeah.
They've always paid on time, if not early.
Beautiful.
And just having some understanding.
So just being in good communication with tenants, which I think is huge, right? Mm-hmm. At what point do you think you would need to hire a property management company? Like after how many doors? Right. That's kind of like my thought process. Like
yeah.
So I know for a fact if you have, let's say, 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 duplexes or fourplexes, you can manage it yourself, right?
Yeah.
But at what point do you think it's like, hey, look, now it makes sense for me to hire a company because this is taking up too much of my time? Because I know you have to build a team around it too. You need to have plumbers, you need to have electricians, you need to have people on call, right, in case something goes out. Because if you have a plumbing issue in your fourplex, that's all 4 units you're getting calls from at 2 a.m.
Right. I think if I got more than 10, I would look into hiring a property manager. But the properties that I get are very low maintenance.
Smart.
And I do an inspection every couple of years just so I can make sure there's
they're
no
all
leaking.
up to par.
They're all up to par, and if I need to do any fixes, I'll do that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Very good. So now the last thing that I want to talk to you about is not just investor mindset, but business owner mindset. Right. This is huge. I personally think that in the market that we're in today, this year alone, right, and we're in 2023, we've had a lot of realtors that quit the business. We've had a lot of lenders that have also quit the business just because it's tough to be in real estate right now. It's tough to be in lending right now. It's tough to be in insurance. Overall, it's tough to be in the real estate world, right? Simply because it's not like it was in 2020 or 2021. It's not like you can just literally throw a rock and close a deal or throw a rock into your refinance, right?
I've been spoiled because business has been handed to me, and this year it's definitely more volatile and. Yeah.
So what kind of mindset do you think realtors, because I know you also coach realtors as well, right? I mean, managing 500 plus, you kind of had to become kind of like somewhat of a mentor or coach to them and say, hey, look, let me guide you through this, especially because every deal for a new realtor is emotional, right? Yeah. So what kind of mindset do you think in today's market realtors need to be in, especially if this market that we're in today will, let's say hypothetically, roll over into next year and be as hard?
Yeah. Well, so for me, it's about quality over quantity.
Okay.
So I really take the time and I put the care, and I think I put myself in their shoes. Like, what would I do with any advice that I give? Yeah. So whether that's renting or selling or buying, and if you're looking to make money, like what kind of knowledge that people have given me that has helped me and I want to share with you. So I think just that desire to make a difference and help them with, wherever they are in their life.
Smart. So that's good. Now, how about habits? What are 2 or 3 habits that you think that in today's market realtors must have? Any business owner, really, because the market's tough. I mean, I don't know if you heard this morning on the news, a unicorn company, $1 billion company in Seattle, Convoy, shut down this morning. A client of mine reached out to me. I was talking to him about it right at 9 o'clock. He was the company shut down. Completely shut down, a $1 billion company.
What kind of company?
So they helped when it comes to infrastructure on trucking, so loads, so they would help when it comes to loads going in and out, and when it comes to just think of big semi trucks. Right?
Oh, okay.
Someone has to call, someone has to schedule the load, someone has to have the load go out nationally across the U.S. They shut down. So like this whole market, this whole economy is very interesting, right? There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of noise. Rates are up right now. The Federal Reserve, it's funny because it's almost like the Federal Reserve and Wall Street are at fight right now.
Yeah.
Jerome Powell and the big banks, he's not bailing himself out, and they're like, "What are you doing to us?" Yeah. So they're going head to head.
Yeah.
What kind of habits do you have to have today as a realtor, or just as a business owner, as an investor, in order for you to, I want to say, succeed or maybe even thrive in next year's market, if the market's going to be as tough as it was this year?
As an investor to stay in this business?
Let's say as an investor, as a realtor, as a business owner, like what kind of habits do you have to have, personal habits, to make sure that you don't have the market crush you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm taking 3 steps forward and then 5 steps back.
Yeah.
And that's with driving, right? Because if I were to do nothing and stand still, I'd have to be, laying people off and all that.
Right.
But I feel like I'm literally taking 3-4 steps forward and pushing hard, and I'm still getting that push back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I think just staying motivated.
Okay.
Staying motivated is huge. I think going out there, going to classes, going to workshops, I like to stay connected in the community.
Staying active.
So with lenders, with my broker friends, seeing what they're doing, see how the market is with them.
Okay.
And I'm very inspired by a lot of the people that I'm with. And so just being around that energy gives me energy.
Beautiful. Okay. So that's awesome. So staying connected in the market, actually getting up and moving.
Yes.
No, I'm right there with you. I think staying motivated is huge. I think because when it comes to motivation, just for me, it has a lot to do with emotion, right? And I think this was almost early last year, where I got into almost like this whole different mindset of, just for me, because this kind of helped me propel, how do I phrase this accurately or correctly? It doesn't matter how I feel today, or it doesn't matter how I feel tomorrow. I have to just do what needs to be done in order to make sure that I'm moving towards and focus on the goals.
Right.
So I got into the position, I want to say mentally, to where for me, it's now all about discipline. Staying disciplined with your habits, right? Whether I want to or not, I got to go to the gym, right? Or for me, it's you need to go and do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
But then there's the whole burnout phase.
Yeah.
And that whole burnout phase, I feel like, goes away when you stay active and you're actively connecting with other business owners and you're actively in the market, and that gives you that motivation, that drive to push you out of the burnout phase. Right? Because if you love what you do, you're not going to get burnt out. Period.
Yeah.
At the same time, I've had days, I'm sure you have too, where I'd get up in the morning and I didn't want to go to work.
Yeah.
I did not want to take one extra call. Yeah. I did not want to go and do what I knew I had to do. And is it okay for me to stay in bed that day? No. No, the market doesn't care how you feel.
Yeah.
The market doesn't care how I feel, right?
Right.
It's going to keep pushing you back.
Yeah.
So I feel like having that discipline, and then again, discipline, motivation, where does that come from? How do you build that kind of self-confidence? Well, I like the way Ed Milet goes, and he talks a lot about this. It's making promises or keeping promises that you make to yourself. If I tell myself I'm about to do something and I do it, you automatically, you're becoming more it works subconsciously backwards too.
Right.
If I say I'm going to make these calls, like these cold calls, I'm getting into a lot more cold calling. If I'm going to get into these cold calls and I'm going to do them and I don't do them that day, I feel like crap.
Yeah.
But why do I feel like crap? Right? My self-confidence level then goes down because I didn't keep a promise that I made to myself.
Right.
So why would I be confident?
I like to-do lists.
Yeah. So to-do lists are great.
I have a lot of to-do lists, and I like crossing them off.
Beautiful.
And so even if I I'm pretty much done with it, I still write it and cross it out because it just feels like an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And so I do. I write a lot down all over on my computer, so it's always with me.
Beautiful.
And if I have I want to do this, and one of my coaches that I love, Brian Buffini, you write them in categories. So you have one that's like my today, within 30 days, and then maybe within a year.
Cool.
And so just something you can always see and keep an eye on.
Beautiful. Yeah. I love that. So I want to say first off, thank you for coming here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's of course. It's there's a famous saying in the business, I've said this before, is where 90% of business is done by 10% of the realtors. Ellie, I know you're part of that 10%, right? You do a ton of business. You're nationally recognized as one of the top agents, right? There's thousands and thousands and thousands of agents out there in King County. And I know you're up there simply because you do this full time and you're very, very, very good at what you do, right? You're meticulous when it comes to contracts, when it comes to negotiations. You're a shark at negotiations, which is what you want in a realtor. You want somebody that's able to negotiate that's best for you, right? Which is huge. So if anyone's looking, by the way, to purchase in King, Pierce, and Helmish County, reach out to Ellie, connect with her. I know that if you can't help them, you're gonna connect them with somebody that can, right? Yep. When it comes to real estate. And also, again, that being said, thank you again for coming on, Ellie.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Talk soon. Take care, guys.